Alrighty, friends, welcome to another session of the Deconstructing Faith Summit. You're in for a treat. You probably saw this on the schedule, but I am so excited to introduce our next guest. I'm officially labeling you an OG of the deconstruction space. I don't know if you like that label or not, but that's what we're going with today.
Thank you.
For the next little bit, we're going to be talking to Jim Palmer. And Jim Palmer is a critically acclaimed author of 6 books, adjunct professor of ethics, philosophy, and comparative religion. Also the founder and president of the Center for Non-Religious Spirituality. He's a spiritual director, religious trauma counselor, founder of the Nashville Humanist Association, and chaplain with the American Humanist Association. In addition to all those books he writes in his free time, Jim contributes articles and columns in major publications and journals. Welcome, Jim. I'm so glad you're here. I'm honored.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Was there anything else? Your bio is super long. You've got a ton of experience. Is there anything else that you want our participants to know? Any weird or quirky things you want to share with us?
I'm a runner, so I kind of have a history of being an ultra endurance athlete. So I like doing ultra marathons and triathlons and that kind of thing. So I really enjoy that. And let's see, I get up about 4:15 every morning. I'm a morning person.
Wow.
I know, isn't that sickening?
That's really early.
That's because when I was in book writing mode, all those years, my best writing time was like 4:30 to 7:30 in the morning. But I'm a morning person, which means I go to bed at 8 o'clock. Not really, but
yeah.
Once it starts getting past 9, I start fading. But I guess that's, a couple maybe personal things about
Fantastic.
me.
Thanks for sharing this. Yeah, so your session the title of this is so juicy. It's Overcoming Toxic Religious Shame with Radical Self-Acceptance. Kick us off. Tell us a little bit about what that means. Feels like a dissertation.
Yes, I know it's long. It's too long for a title, but
oh, it's not. It's not too long at all.
Well, okay. Can I give you some real quick background?
Please do. Yes.
Okay. So after a very volatile childhood and youth, I went to college and found Jesus, became the student president of our Campus Crusade for Christ ministry. After that, went to seminary. After I graduated from seminary, I joined the pastoral. I became a pastor at the largest megachurch in North America at the time. So I served as a pastor there for some years. Then I came down south to Nashville and I planted and pastored another non-denominational contemporary church, spoke at conferences about how to succeed at church and all that kind of thing. But then I realized that my fine, upstanding, bulletproof, seminary-approved evangelical theology wasn't really touching the suffering of the people in our church. And then when I was honest, I also could see that it really wasn't either addressing my own brokenness I had in my own life. So when I came to that discovery, I walked away from it all. I walked away from my Christian theology. I walked away from church. I walked away from ministry. I walked away from my vocation and my income to try to figure this out. Yeah. And that's when I wrote my first book, Divine Nobodies. And I've written some books after that. And then over the course of that period, for the last 15 or 20 years, I have been counseling with people who are experiencing what's now often called religious trauma syndrome. That's kind of the mental health term that's used for people who have been victimized or abused spiritually or through toxic religious indoctrination. And so over, doing this for 20 years, I've noticed that one of the most significant ways that toxic religion damages people is in the area of shame. And so as an example, let me just read just real quick paragraph of someone who wrote to me. She's in my Life After Religion course, and this is what she writes. She says, religion cut across my self-development as a young person as it discouraged me in thinking for myself and trusting myself. I started believing that my thoughts and especially my feelings could not be trusted. I began a war against my body and mind. Everything had to go through the filter of the belief system, which was very authoritative and male dominated. I was made to feel ashamed of being a woman. It essentially disconnected me from my body, mind, and spirit by a deep shame and self-hatred. The wound is lack of self-trust and belief in my own strength, power, and goodness, and shame of being who I am.
Yeah. Wow.
So
I know we're recording this, but I just can totally see people in the audience already going, yep, and nodding.
yeah.
That's so familiar.
So in terms of religious shame, like I jotted down just a few things that a lot of people end up internalizing deeply as a result of toxic religious indoctrination. Here's a few of them. I'm inherently bad. I cannot trust myself. My heart is wicked. I deserve punishment. I don't measure up. I am powerless. Self-denial is holiness. I need forgiveness for who I am. I need saved from myself. I am worthless on my own. Self-care is selfish. I can never be good enough. I'm not capable of thinking for myself. I must be perfect. My struggles mean I am not trusting God. So,
Yeah.
you can leave church, you can dump a lot of your Christian theology, but you have to do some deeper inner work to really get at the religious shame that comes from one of the core teachings of toxic Christianity, which is that you are inherently bad in your natural state. You are not acceptable as you are.
Right.
So I started counseling people, and then over the years, I saw this. I wrote out a definition of spiritual abuse. You want to hear it?
Sure.
Spiritual abuse, I define spiritual abuse as any religious view, belief, practice, or relationship that induces fear, shame, guilt, or hatred, or separates people from their humanity, one another, and their authentic self. And then I wrote, if truth in advertising standards were applied to religion,
Oh my goodness.
It would be mandatory for some churches to display a sign that says, warning, this church could be harmful to your spiritual and psychological health.
Yeah. Yeah. That's really such a solid definition, because a lot of times the second part is what's really resonant. I think a lot of times we see the first part and we're like, yeah, of course, if those things happen, that's harmful. But that separating people from their humanity, cool. That's a whole nother conference, right? Because that plays out in millions and millions of different ways in people's life. But you're right, it's all harmful and it's all tied to shame and worthlessness that really limits our ability to just be human beings.
It's true. And the thing is too, is that many people, so it starts as children.
Yeah.
A lot of people, as a young child, many children are indoctrinated to these views. We tell children that they are born into this world intrinsically bad, absent of inherent worth, and repulsive to God. I mean, we tell children that their sinfulness is so bad that it left God no choice other than to execute his only son to rectify it. We raise children in the church sometimes and teach them that there is nothing good inside of them and they cannot trust their own thoughts and feelings. I mean, we internalize those messages as children, and then, it becomes very difficult to address because it's so deeply rooted in who we are. So I had some conversations with Brene Brown, particularly about this idea of religious shame.
Yeah.
And here's something that she says that I think is very useful. She says, shame corrodes the very part of us that believes we're capable of change.
Yeah.
So that part of us
Yeah.
that believes that that we are good. We can consistently put choices and actions together for our well-being and to guide our lives, that we have the necessary skills and tools to live a fulfilling life. Too often religion kind of cuts us off at the knees by telling us we can't trust ourselves, we're worthless without God, there's nothing that we can do on our own.
It feels like a double whammy. Not only are we going to hand you this shame, or not only are we going to condition you to carry this shame with you, but we're going to package it with this idea that your creator made you this way and there's really nothing you can do about it, but you should try really hard anyway. And so the hope of change, the hope of growth and really tapping into that part of humanity is inaccessible. And we're even told that it's sinful and that it's rebellious and all those other really gaslighty phrases that just make me go, ooh, right? We're so embedded in the community that they still can stir up emotions within us.
Yeah, it's almost like that toxic religion often sabotages our relationship with ourselves, because one of the things that toxic religion, the impact it often has, is that you are powerless and helpless and inadequate, and so you're dependent upon the outside divine intervention of God to sort of, make up the difference of your inadequacy and your helplessness. In fact, I saw also on Facebook this morning, I saw this meme. It says, the key to accessing God's power is to understand how much we need him to do anything that's of real value in life.
Ouch.
The truth is, whether we realize it or not, we're all desperate for God every minute of every day. I am weak, but he is strong. So this whole I'm helpless, powerless, incapable, but God's going to do it for me is an expression of the first false premise of toxic religion, which is that you're bad.
Right. And there's nothing you can do about it. You're just bad. You're always going to be bad. But try really hard, but you're going to be bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is such a timely conversation, because I was talking with somebody privately a few days ago, basically about this same thing in the recovery community. And in this particular individual is in recovery and is also deconstructing. And it's just like, I want the support of this community, but I'm really struggling with the certainty around higher power, the certainty around ask God for help, because I'm deconstructed. And this person was just kind of wrestling with that. And the shame kept coming up of like, should I forget my deconstruction and recover? Should I forget my recovery and deconstruct? Like, where do I fit in this world?
Yeah, and I think that so there's a lot of false choices that people feel forced to decide upon. So for example, it's kind of like God is either the fundamentalist Christian theism. That's option A. Option B is there's no God at all.
Right. The absolutes. That's what's always pitched as those absolutes.
Right. So there's a lot of territory to cover between this fundamentalist Christian theism and atheism. It's not like it's just one or the other, so I do think that obviously one of the challenges of deconstruction is a person sort of, trying to figure out what they believe about God.
Right.
And teaching philosophy and the philosophy of religion, when you get into some other fields of investigation, is I think you can start seeing the spectrum of possibilities in terms of God beyond just fundamentalism and atheism.
Right.
So there's a lot of room to investigate, but religion typically conceives of God as a separate entity or being or deity that is separate from you. Kind of maybe the Gandalf God in the sky.
Sure.
But there's a lot of room to investigate these matters beyond that kind of radical dualism.
Yeah. And once you get past that initial feeling of, oh, I'm disobeying, right? Like, oh, I'm coloring outside the lines. Is the lightning coming? The messy middle is actually kind of fun.
Yeah.
Granted, Gen X are here, like, let's get out there and find some nuances. Let's find conflicting ideas and say maybe they're both right? Like there's space there, but it takes a lot to overcome that conditioning of, if I go here, something really bad is going to happen. Not just in this life, but in my next life, my afterlife is going to be totally ruined too, because I'm saying maybe God's not male, or maybe that translation isn't actually the be all end all. I think the Naked Pastor has a beautiful illustration of the slippery slope, and I think it leads to a swimming pool or a water hole or something.
Yeah.
Once you get in the water, you're fine, but at the
Right.
top of the slide, it's terrifying because of that conditioning.
Well, I think that next to shame, closely related to it, is fear, and religion often, so much of religion, toxic religion, is characterized by fear of God's wrath, fear of being wrong, fear of God's disapproval, fear of God's discipline or punishment, fear of going to hell, fear of my loved ones going to hell, the fear of different beliefs, the fear of people who are part of the them group that our church sort of judges and condemns and writes off or whatever. But the thing that's kind of like a little sad about that is that, so even if you take the Bible says that God is spirit, and you could easily draw from that, and many people have, and I think they're correct in doing so. Well, first off, we have to remember that language is a social technology that our species has used in order to learn to cooperate and thrive together as human beings on the planet. So there is no God in the sense that God is a word we chose. We all agree that the word God approximates something on the level of ultimate reality. And whether it's Christianity, Eastern spirituality, whether it's modern physics, almost across the board, there is agreement in the idea that there's one ground of being from which everything takes its existence or its beingness or its essence. And in my mind, one of the most absurd notions of toxic religion is this idea of separation from God, because I don't think that is even a possibility, that a person could be separate or separated from God if God is the ground of being of all existence. In other words, if you were capable of going to hell and being separate from God, or somehow separated from God, like something different other than something outside of the realm of God, then that would make you God. If you could generate a self-existing self separate from God, that would make you God. So in my view, there is no separation from God. And in my view, this was the main point Jesus was trying to get across, which we largely missed. And so there's nothing to fear. You're not going to hell. you're not separated from God. You never were separated from God. You aren't separated from God. You never will be separated from God. Like that's a foregone conclusion that, like there's a lot of things in life to worry about. One of them isn't that somehow you're going to do something or believe something and be separated from God or separate from God.
Right, right. Because that fear of separation and that fear of eternal punishment isn't actually about my relationship with my creator. It's about compliance and assimilation so that the system, the toxic religious system, the imbalance of power is protected. And so I hope everybody who's listening is catching that, is that you were taught these things for a reason, maybe even as a tradition, and maybe even by people who had your best interest at heart. But the whole reason these ideas came up were to support a power imbalance and to keep us in a state of fear and of shame, because that's better for the system than us being fully powered human beings who recognize our connection to a divine being.
Yeah, so
that was a lot. That was a lot. So you can get the replays, you can watch it later, but just know you didn't make this stuff up.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, think about how absurd it is, the idea that God punishes about 3/4 of human beings over history, and the punishment is eternal conscious torment, and it's a consequence of not accepting or understanding or believing a set of very specific theological propositions that were written in ancient literature before the creation of modern science. And like, that's why you're going to go to hell. I mean, that makes no sense.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very exclusionary.
Right.
There's not a lot of God loving us. There's not a lot of being valued. It's very performative and it's very legalistic and it's very exclusionary, which those are all hallmarks of toxic systems. So it fits.
And what sometimes drives me crazy is I feel like sometimes some Christians don't even like necessarily read their own Bible, in the sense that there's only a couple places where God is kind of defined pretty succinctly. One is that God is spirit, the other one is God is love. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't say that God does loving things. It says that God is love. Like that it's that it's not an action that God takes, it's an innate quality to what we're referring to when we use the word God. So it's God's love is not a spigot that gets turned on or off based on your performance. Mm-hmm. It's a statement about that if God is love, which means that love is God, then there's never a moment where you would be outside of the reality of God's love.
Right. It's an identity. It's a being statement, not a doing statement. So it's like saying Angela is human, Jim is human, God is love. That is God's identity and God's being state. We can't change that, because that would completely flip the hierarchy upside down.
Yeah, and that's what can be frustrating sometimes, is that people that are moving through deconstruction are looking for different answers to, sometimes people through deconstruction are looking for different answers to the same questions, but maybe the questions are not the right questions to be asking. We should just move off them to a different set of questions. And the thing about religion is that it's often putting the answers outside of ourselves in some way, so that, like, for example, the meaning of life, people often think that the meaning of life is something that you find as if there's one universal, ultimate, overarching meaning, and you have to find it. You could miss it. Your whole life could be messed up if you can't find this meaning to life, versus the idea that you're the meaning maker. Like, Rather than
Ah,
going on a wild goose chase to try to find, did you see the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy?
I have, yeah, yeah.
Okay, so, right, they're looking for the answer, it's number 42. So rather than out there looking for the meaning of life, one of the great gifts of the lived human experience is that you are the meaning maker. In other words, meaning is something that you cultivate, and it's the way you participate in life yourself. It's not an answer on like a, in a lockbox somewhere in the center of the universe that you have to be right.
Right. It's not geocaching.
Right, right.
Yeah, yeah. So how does the meaning piece, I'm really curious about how the meaning piece connects with that toxic religious, I don't know, motivation to separate us from our humanity? Like what's the correlation, or how do those oppose each other?
Carl Jung, psychologist Carl Jung, he spoke a lot about something called self-actualization. And even Abraham Maslow created the hierarchy of needs. And at the top of that hierarchy, he said that our highest desire as human beings is to give full expression to give expression to our fullest potentialities and possibilities, to bring forth the fullness of what we are in the lived human experience. And so I think that part of this idea of the meaning of life is to become fully what you are in the lived human experience, to actualize your possibilities, your potentialities in life as a human being. And I think that the core of that process has got to be self-acceptance. It can't be shame.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's the piece that I think you have to really you have to give some time and attention to, is that radical self-acceptance. People often feel like that their biggest problem is they need to work out a better relationship with God, a deity in the sky. Instead, what I'm finding is our greatest need is to cultivate a different kind of relationship with ourselves, because toxic religion has sabotaged our relationship with ourselves. And so until we repair that and we cultivate a different kind of relationship, it's going to be very difficult to move forward in life and feel like we have the confidence to be the meaning makers and to actualize the fullness of who we are and what we are. So I think it comes back to that, that self-acceptance and beginning to cultivate that. Religion often is very dualistic in that it's, good versus bad.
Right. There's no in the middle.
There's no, right.
Yeah.
So what happens is that those are the only two barometers we have to judge ourselves, good or bad. And that lens is usually not very useful. Like, think about, okay, let's stretch out, let's put good on one end and bad on the other, this continuum. Okay, like, what is really good and how good, and when do you cross the line into bad, and how bad is really super bad and totally bad. But people don't do that. It's either good or bad.
Yeah.
So here are some other questions, okay? Because we're talking about radical self-acceptance here.
Right. So what are the questions that we should, and I'm using air quotes here, what are the possible questions we could ask? Okay,
rather than turning the religious lens on yourself, which this idea that I'm doing something bad or I am bad. And so you could ask yourself, this action or choice, this characteristic, this habit, this pattern, this mindset, this feeling, this thing that I'm doing that I'm judging as bad or good, does this action or choice or characteristic, habit, pattern, mindset, or feeling contribute to my well-being, or is it a source of personal suffering?
Ooh.
Now that's
Okay.
that would be a useful question, right? It's constructive, right? Like if you look at a habit or a feeling or an action, you say, well, that's bad. Well, where do you go?
What do you
with
do? Yeah, what do you do then, right? Well, then you go into the shame spiral.
it?
Of,
Right.
well,
Here's
if I
another-
did that bad thing, I must be bad. Right.
Right. But what if you stopped and you kind of deconstructed that thing you're calling bad, and instead you step back and you ask, is this thing contributing to my well-being, or is it a source of personal suffering? Here's another one. Does this action, choice, characteristic, habit, pattern, mindset, does it line up with what really matters most to me in life?
Whew, that's a good one.
Yeah, that'd be a good question to ask.
Oh,
Where do they
gosh, can you
want?
imagine if we taught our kids these questions from day one? Like, how different would their experience in life be? It would be completely different.
Yes, ask that question. It's a useful question. Okay, here's one. Does this action or choice, characteristic, so on, represent the kind of person I want to be and the kind of life I want to live?
Yeah.
That's a useful question. That'd be a better question. Like we're walking around judging ourselves as good or bad. That's useless. It doesn't mean anything. I mean, tell me who's good or who's bad and how good or how bad. And it would be asking questions that are constructive towards you cultivating a meaningful relationship with yourself and life. Here's another one. Does this thing reveal something about myself that is useful in my continuing growth and development?
I don't know if I want to ask that question. That feels like a really good question to ask. That would be really supportive and also really uncomfortable when you first start asking it.
Okay, so let's think about this for a second. What's something do you think a lot of people do that they judge themselves about, and as a result they would say they're bad?
I know a lot of my audience is women, parents.
Okay.
A lot of times just saying no to your kids, not doing something for your family,
Okay.
creates a ton of shame. So we could even call that setting healthy boundaries with your family.
Yeah, I mean, like, okay, so let's take that a parent has a feeling that they're never doing good enough, or they're bad. They're never doing enough for their kids.
Yeah, never doing enough.
Never doing enough.
Never doing enough. Ugh, even as I say that, I choke on it. That's a deeply rooted thing a lot of us are working on.
So you could ask yourself, does the feeling that I'm not doing good enough, does that thought that I carry around, does this actually contribute to my well-being, or is it a source of personal suffering? It's probably a source of personal suffering because you're walking around constantly thinking that you're never doing something, never doing enough, never doing enough. And here's a question that I didn't mention, but does this thing point to a deeper set of dynamics I need to address more seriously? So you could say, this idea that I'm not a good enough parent stems from the fact that I don't think that I'm a good enough Christian, which stems from the fact that I don't think I'm a good enough Christian, which stems from the fact that I'm just not ever freaking good enough. I'm not good enough for God. I'm not good enough for anybody. I'm always falling short. I'm never doing what everybody wants me. I didn't do what God wanted me to do. Didn't do what the church wanted me to do. I'm not doing what my kids want me to do. Not doing what my husband wanted me to do. I'm constantly not measuring up, and I'm not good enough.
Yeah. And it's all rooted in that fear and that just unhealthy view of what we're supposed to do or who we're supposed to be.
What if you had what if your view of yourself included some things like this?
Okay.
I'm a human being who is in a perpetual process of becoming. So that's one thing, right?
That's good. That's good.
Like, we've never arrived, right? No one ever arrives. It's a
Yeah.
it's a perpetual process of becoming. I'm a human being of worth and value at every moment, regardless of where I'm in the process at any given time.
Whew.
Right? Like, we're always trying to get somewhere. We'll finally be enough. We'll finally be spiritual enough, enlightened enough, pleasing to God enough, spiritual enough.
Yeah.
I'm a human being deserving of my own acceptance, patience, kindness, and compassion.
Yeah.
It's okay not to be perfect and to make mistakes.
Do you think the average person who's come up in Christianity knows how to be compassionate to ourselves? Like, is that even in our vocabulary?
Well, I mean, it's scriptural to love yourself, but I think that, you know, that the church has always been, well, Catholic religion is very suspicious of self-love.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
very suspicious of self-love, self-care, self-acceptance, self-respect, self-reliance, you know, like that self part of it. The toxic religion is more about, you got to crucify this self, like you got to crucify
Right.
your desires, you got to crucify your pride. So it's very difficult to find a rationale for radical self-acceptance in the church. You know, even though I think you could find it if you wanted to, like in the Bible, but you know, you're probably not going to find it often in the church. So these self-condemning judgments that we make on ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
they are, this is what I am, and that's what shame is.
Yeah.
I am bad. I am inferior. I am not good enough. I am inadequate. I am lacking. I am bad. It's the I am part, you know, because it's really taken into your identity. So what about this instead? What if you quit saying this is what I am and you say this is what I learned?
I love it. Love it. Love it.
Because look, okay,
That's a huge shift. Yeah.
this is what I am, are things like, okay, you can't change. Well, there's a lot, you know, you have a certain eye color, you have, you know, at any given time, there's a whole lot of facts about who you are, but it's, this is what I learned.
Yeah.
These are the stories and narratives and beliefs that you adopted about yourself that you're acting out of. You might have learned them from religion. You might have learned them from your family system. There's all kinds of ways that we learn these. I am bad. I am worthless. I am inadequate. I am pathetic. I'm a loser. I'm a failure. I'm not any good. But you can't. It's not that. This is what I learned. I learned to look at myself this way.
Right.
It's something I learned. It's not really what I am. It's just what I learned.
Mm-hmm.
So shame is an attachment to an idea of what you think you are.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. I share this video all the time. You mentioned Brene Brown earlier. If anybody is watching and is kind of the nuance between shame and I've done bad and I am bad is kind of new, look up her TED Talk on shame versus guilt and watch it about 10 times.
Yes.
Argue with her as much as you want, but keep watching, because it is this shift that you're talking about from I do this, I was taught this is what I learned, instead of I am bad, I deserve shame, I'm untrustworthy. That's life-changing. And sometimes it's life-saving. And I don't say that to be quippy. It is an absolute step towards health that is nearly impossible when you don't let go of, I am bad. I was made bad. There's nothing I can do about it. I just am.
Yeah. So
but I got to keep trying.
Yes. The thing about it is people have asked me, Jim, are you born good or bad? And I tell them, you're born neither. You're not born good or bad. You're born as a human being. And as a human being, you have a set of skills and tools and capacities that you could utilize very constructively for your well-being, the well-being of the world, but you can also use those same skills and tools to be very destructive. And every human being does a whole bunch of good things for themselves and others, and every human being does a whole bunch of shit they shouldn't do either. It's what we all do. We're not good or bad. We're good and bad, although I don't even like to say that because we're back to like, so let me give you an example of how radical self-acceptance would work.
Okay.
I mean, what's a characteristic or trait that a person would judge themselves as bad about? A characteristic or a trait?
I am bossy.
You what?
I am bossy. That's a characteristic or trait that I have been taught and shamed myself for.
All right, Miss Bossy, let's take that.
Okay.
All right. So what if you did this? Because, you could come up, we judge ourselves as bad, I'm undesirable, I'm inferior, I'm unwanted, I'm unwelcome, I'm bossy, I'm too much, whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. What would it mean for you to look upon this aspect of yourself with compassion, understanding, and critical thinking, which would transform your relationship to that aspect of yourself to be more accepting, constructive, and empowering? Rather than condemning that in yourself, what would it mean for you to extend compassion and understanding to that?
Yeah. So because I've done a lot of work in therapy, I know the unanswered, right? The therapy, the hours and hours of therapy are paying off in this session. What I had to kind of grab a hold of for self-compassion's sake is that there were times being bossy and making quick judgments kept me alive, kept me relatively safe.
Yes.
And also, a lot of people see me as bossy because I'm really smart and I figure stuff out fast. And a lot of times I'm the first one in the room to figure stuff out. Why should I shame myself for that? That's actually kind of cool.
Right, and that's where we're kind of back to language. Like, what do we mean? I often do this when I meet with clients is we talk about this, is that, like in this case, what does it mean to be bossy? Does it, like, what are we talking about exactly? Because sometimes in life, it's what's required is to be directive.
Yeah.
Right, like if you're on a plane and it's like, run out of gas, it's run out of fuel, like you don't want the pilot to be like taking a vote on what people should do, right? You want him or her to step in and start giving strong direction to the situation, but radical self-acceptance is the antidote to religious shame. And I know we're kind of getting close to running out of time. So let me throw out just a couple more things about that, if that's okay.
Please do. Yeah, absolutely. Please do.
Because most people don't go deep enough into self-acceptance.
Yeah.
One level of self-acceptance is, we've already talked a little bit about, is acknowledging universal imperfection.
Yeah.
Like, okay, if you're going to judge yourself as bad, inadequate, unworthy, not good enough, then you're going to have to write off every human being. You're going to have to judge your daughter like that, your son, your siblings, your best friends. You have to write off every human being because it's a universal imperfection. So it's an acknowledgement that every human being, every single one, is some assortment of characteristics, mindsets, behaviors that are either constructive towards wholeness and well-being or can harm ourselves or others.
Yeah.
Like join the club.
Right.
The other one is the deconstruction of the causes. It's shifting from that, this is what I am, to this is what I learned. And to sort of step back and deconstruct what are the causes behind this self-judgment that you so often cast upon yourself. So it's gaining greater understanding of the seed sources of that shame.
Yeah.
Which
I also find when you get into that space, it's a lot easier to not to ignore, but to find some healing around in your relationships with people who've harmed you, and perhaps people who loved you and harmed you at the same time, right? Those are the hard ones.
yes.
Because if we get stuck in the absolute of good and bad, it's really easy to turn them into villains and never find whatever level of healing we need. Now, that's not to say throw your boundaries out the window and go back to abusive people.
Right.
You could have healing on your own, and this process is focused on self-acceptance, but you'll notice that it starts spilling out to the rest of the world too.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think if there's a couple of words to shift from toxic religious shame to radical self-acceptance: hospitality and curiosity.
Yeah.
And what I mean by hospitality is creating an inner disposition, a space of hospitality within yourself for every thought, every feeling, every action, every choice. It's being impartial, accepting, and compassionate to every single part of who you are.
Yeah.
And it's also one of curiosity. Why am I feeling that? Why am I thinking that? Why am I doing that? Where did that come from? Stop judging yourself.
Yeah.
Create a space of hospitality. Oh, here's the part of me that's doing this or that or this other.
Yeah.
Give them a seat at the table. Look, because like Brene Brown often says, is that the shame is only going to fuel the very behavior that's destroying your well-being. Like the shame and judgment does not liberate a person. Only acceptance can.
Yeah. One of the things I want to make sure we don't miss this. One of the things that you shared, we're talking about faith, we're talking about spirituality, and you specifically mentioned in your notes about non-religious spirituality and how that impacts our relationship with ourselves.
So spirituality is, in my view, spirituality is universally relevant and applicable and significant to the lived human experience.
Yeah.
So religion only happens to be one way that desire and need gets worked out among human beings. And it's unfortunate that it's also has done great harm in people's lives also, you know. So non-religious spirituality is a spirituality that is centered not around a religion or a belief system or a theology or a checklist of do's and don'ts, but it's more of an inside out, cultivating a spirituality that is meaningful to you. What matters most to you in life? What brings you joy? What centers you? What are you passionate about? You know, the thing about it is that spirituality becomes this word that we attach all this significance to, and we kind of make something of it, perhaps maybe more than we really should. It's about your relationship with yourself. It's about your lived human experience. It's about how you relate to ultimate reality, in which many people use the word God to, you know, identify. And so I use non-religious spirituality, that term specifically, because I want to create a space for people who are interested in spirituality beyond the boundaries and the limitations and the confines and expectations that you historically find in religion.
Mm-hmm.
It's more of an inside out, authentic spirituality. And people, I can almost hear the religious people saying, well, and that all makes a lot of people feel nervous because
Sure.
who gives you the right to decide what
Right.
spirituality is and so on. And if a person, non-religious spirituality would be cultivating your way in the world through your direct experience, through critical thinking, as opposed to a sort of imposed belief system or practices.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but what I feel like you're saying is be spiritual, do spiritual things, but stop measuring yourself by the religious system. Stop checking with religiosity to see if you're right or wrong, good, bad. Like just put that on the back burner and just be and do spirituality and see what's there.
Yes. And it's like, what brings you joy?
Yeah.
It's okay for you to decide what is meaningful for you, what matters most to you in life, what truly centers you, what brings you joy, what makes you passionate, what empowers a greater sense of compassion and love for the world. It's okay for you to come up with those answers by going inside of yourself, and rather than somebody telling you what it should be from the outside going in. And the reason why he has a hard time doing that is you don't trust yourself. You don't think your thoughts or feelings are legit or valid. You need some man with a degree from seminary to tell you what it means for you to be spiritual, for you to love God, for you to find meaning. And it's not true. You don't.
Yeah, that's just what you learned. That doesn't mean it's actually true.
Right.
Right. Oh, so good. I feel like we could just do a gym summit and we could just have you talk for all 3 days.
That'd be so much fun.
That would be fantastic.
I hope I got enough across about the, just shame is.
It's brutal.
It is, and it's so.
It's a bottomless pit. You never run out of shit. Once you start diving into it, you never get to the bottom. There's no hitting bottom of the shame pit and bouncing back up. You just have to say, this isn't worth me investing in. I'm going to try something different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just one little thing you could do. A lot of people meditate and all this stuff. Okay. So you could do a 5-minute meditation in the morning with the idea that you're neither going to resist or become attached to any particular thing that you feel or comes up during that time. Because, we meditate and we think, damn, I shouldn't be thinking that. I'm thinking about like what I'm going to eat 30 minutes. I should be thinking about this stuff. Or a thought comes in and you try to grab, oh, that's a great spiritual thought. Let me grab onto and see what, I can ride this to bliss or something. So just to incorporate a time of just acknowledging what's there without resisting or attaching to it, because you have to develop that skill to not resist or become attached. Because think about both of us right now, we have, and this is kind of Eastern spirituality-ish, but it's something for people to think about.
Yeah.
You have thoughts that come and go, you have feelings that come and go, you have sensations that come and go, you have perceptions that come and go. So, we just had thoughts and feelings just in this conversation that come and now they're gone. That happens all day long. Thoughts and feelings come, they dissolve, they change, and so on. So, the thing about it is there was a you before the thought, there was a you during the thought, there was a you after the thought. There was a you before the feeling, during the feeling, after the feeling. Like there's an Angela who's always there. She doesn't go anywhere.
Right.
Thoughts go, feelings go, perceptions go, sensations go, but there's an Angela that never goes. So investigate that.
Yeah. With that curiosity and that hospitality that you were talking about earlier. Not with the judging sense of this is who I am, this is who I always have been, and it's not good enough. But oh, what's here? That's one of my favorite coaching questions. Oh, what's there? What's here? what's that about?
Right.
Because it's never a short answer. It's always a big, long rabbit trail, and that's where the magic happens. That's where the fun happens.
You even implied that too, judging. Let's say you're doing the meditation and you think of something you wish you weren't thinking about, and you judge yourself. Well, the minute you catch yourself, just observe, hey, I'm judging myself right now. Hey, I'm shaming myself right now.
Yeah.
There's a bigger you who can offer, think about offering compassion and understanding and gentleness and patience to a little child.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when one of these things come up, there's a bigger you that's there that, hey, there I am hating on myself again because I didn't say what I wanted to in this conversation. Hey, there I am, totally beating myself up because I was being all bossy today, or at least like someone's got to step back and be the parent here.
Right.
And you're capable of offering that kind of acceptance and patience and gentleness and compassion to every single part of who you are.
That's good. That's good.
Just practice it for 5 minutes in the morning.
Yeah, even if it feels awkward and really uncomfortable. If you've never done this, it will. I don't guarantee anything, but I can almost guarantee the first time you try this, it's gonna feel really weird because nobody ever taught you to do this. Probably because they didn't know to do this, right? So it's a new muscle.
Yes, it's useful to see yourself. It's like, seriously, a lot of people probably, including myself, we all do this. You can't, it's offering hospitality to the part that wants to judge you, offering hospitality and compassion, even to that part, because this is what that part learned.
Right.
So
and it wasn't created out of a bad place inside of you. It is a learned response that was picked up along the way. And that's not good nor bad. It's just your experience, and that's okay.
Right. There is no bad place inside of you. There is no bad thing.
Exactly.
There is no bad. It's just a word we created to try to indicate something. Language is very limited. It in no way really describes or captures the reality of the human person or the lived human experience. And so, you got to cultivate a different mindset and attitude with yourself. But you're right. You can't turn around the Titanic on a dime. Right. Like they knew the iceberg was there, but it was too late. They hit it. So you're not going to turn around on a dime, and that's okay. Now you're going to start judging yourself for that. You can't try not to do that.
Right. And get some support. This kind of recovery, this recovering from trauma. It's not something, I think about the old Peanuts comic strip where you could go up and get advice. I think it was Lucy who used to give advice for 5 cents or something.
Yeah.
That's not how it works. Like, this is deep work, and you have to learn a lot of things that nobody ever taught you. So having a good therapist who understands trauma and doesn't actually care whether you're a Christian or not, that's important, is going to be really supportive.
Yes.
You need somebody to hold space for you and to reflect what needs to be reflected and to call you out when you get stuck in those, I'm bad, I'm shameful. This happened to me, but I totally deserved it because I was in that place, or I was wearing those clothes, or whatever. Like you need the support of somebody who really understands trauma. And a community like this that'll reflect it back to you and say, wait a second, do you not see your light? Where's the compassion? Where's the hospitality?
Yeah. You can't Bible verse or prayer circle everybody into wholeness.
Tell everybody real quick where to find you. Where's the best place to find you online?
You go to Facebook.
Okay, Facebook is your.
Yeah, you can find me on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. I got a website, but maybe any of those.
Cool. We'll make sure we drop all your links below so everybody can find you.
Okay.
Thanks so much for this session. For those of you that are watching, we'll see you in the next session. Be sure to care for yourself, hop up, get a drink, grab a weighted blanket, do whatever you need to do, and come right back for the next session. We'll see you soon.